because Bob the Builder PvE man has been sitting there hammering rocks the whole game because you don't need wood and or to repair the door. You just need to farm out of one. So Johnny hitting rocks 24/7, then sits there at the end of the game just while everybody is trying to break the door down. I have watched this. It's 7 minutes long. We're talking about PvP, what they're doing for it, what's coming. And it's called PvP Refresh. I think it's simply just a quick PvP update. Nothing's really being refreshed at all, similar to the ability thing that I talked about the last time we watched release.
There are 4 big things.
And that the refresh is not refreshing the things that need to be refreshed.
Let's talk through them, and let's start with perhaps the biggest one, Crossworld OPR.
Put simply, less waiting time to get into OPR. So we're connecting all of our worlds within a region for OPR, and that means that you just hit a button and you'll be playing with a larger population. And along with that, the leaderboards for OPR are going to be regional as well.
Interesting. Okay, cool. Whatever. I never really have any issues when I'm queuing into OPR, to be honest. Sure, you hit the downtime of when there's like 1 or 2 OPRs going, and then you're waiting. But it's really not that bad. But I guess this is better for consistent OPR spamming. But what I want you to think about is think about that, but then the issues with current OPR state, current PvP, current all the X, Y, and Z sort of issues, and then think, will cross-server, cross-region OPR actually fix this?
That's cool. So no difference in mechanics. It's the same thing. Just go to modes, hit play.
Exactly. Yep. No difference in mechanics. Cool. No difference in anything. Same thing that you've been playing for 2 years.
Yeah, well...
Yeah, not worldwide or anything.
No, not exactly. Yeah, they're just region-based.
We're also going to make some changes to OPR, some adjustments to make it play a little better, a little maybe more strategic. Can you talk us through those changes, Patrick?
Yes, there's a number of good changes coming to Outpost Rush with Season 2. First off is scoring changes. So we're going to adjust the logic of scoring to better reinforce players who are playing the objectives. Another change we're making is the Baroness encounter. We're putting in walls
all in 1
so
second.
you can no longer just sniper from 100 meters away and last second kill steal her. If you want to get that kill now, you have to be in the area, so high risk, high reward there. Another great change is we're reinforcing the role of siege weaponry and walls. So the siege weaponry is going to deal more damage to players, and the walls are going to take less damage from ranged weapons. So you can't sit back with your bow now and just shoot it down. Got to get up close and personal to be effective. And then the last big change that I'm really excited about is the corrupted portal. So we're kind of completely reworking that mechanic. So instead of showing up and depositing Azoth to get your token, now every few minutes the portal will activate and you have to go there and clear out all the corrupted enemies to claim the portal.
I do like the idea that, yes, they're going to change scoring so it's more objective based. And that does promote fighting inside of outposts, which is then less sort of ranged combat from, just sitting there with bows and fire staffs. But people will still do that. I just think that that is not necessarily the change we need to really adjust OPR in a nutshell, right? We're looking at more sort of minor changes with our fingers crossed, but when you know the player base, everybody and their mother likes shooting bows or shooting fire staffs. Nobody likes playing the bruiser that's just sitting on point, okay? Hopefully those changes do influence a little bit more clump fighting, but that's still not the change we need. So what are we going to have? More strategic fighting. We have Baron. I think the Baron change is good. We're going to have walls there that prevent last hitting from a mile away and actually promote clump fighting inside pit, which is more fun. Clump fights are fun. People enjoy playing the point and doing the objective things if they're not the only person doing it. And so now it's still the issue of, will you still be the only person doing it? 2, brutes. So brute thing is going to become more of an event. Brutes kind of suck anyway right now. So it's not really going to matter. What's the point of doing the event when your brute can just get blown up? It's not like they're throwing meatballs and sucking through walls like they used to, right? I'm indifferent about that, but maybe it's just another thing that promotes some extra clump fighting or just being a PvE rat. Now, here's where things start to get a little rough. I will say, I'm going to sum it up with the cross-regional PR changes. Siege equipment. I do not use siege equipment for a couple reasons. 1, it just doesn't flow well with OPR because especially with how many range people are there, you're going to get absolutely domed and just blown into Narnia and die 9 times out of 10, and you're not going to do anything. 2, yes, it doesn't do that much damage. So, I'm not going to do it anyway, but there's no way you can make it do enough damage that it's really going to be worth using a repeater. 3, it just doesn't make sense, okay? So I am not going to sit on a siege weapon when there's a clump fight happening or in general, because you just are very, 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 very vulnerable when you're sitting on a repeater. Or I guess you could have the oil vats, but I think then that still is promoting like, hey, I'm going to do more PvE, and that just ruins the flow of the game. It's weird because idea conceptually, when you think of OPR, it's PvE and PvP mixed together to make this cool game mode. But when people PvE, it makes the PvP less fun. And then if you don't PvE hard enough, it makes the PvP less fun. And so it's a weird balance. But regardless, siege weapons, I just think should be removed and not even cared about. Personally, I think it's a waste of time. But 4, why are we making it so the doors are harder to kill? You can already have a clump of melee on a door and have decks shooting at it, and the door will not go down because Bob the Builder PvE man has been sitting there hammering rocks the whole game because you don't need wood and ore to repair the door. You just need to farm the shit out of one. So Johnny hitting rocks 24/7, then sits there at the end of the game just while everybody is trying to break the door down. That is a stupid change, in my opinion, respectfully, of course. But now 5, here's where it all comes together. When did New World release? It's kind of crazy that we're in year 2 of New World, right? You now have the issue of we have had the exact same structure of the map for 2 years. All that has changed is the game flows better. There's less lag, less desync. New weapons are added. Nothing else, and brutes were nerfed. That's all we've really gotten in terms of OPR changes. And so now we've been playing the same thing in stagnation, people, becoming stale, okay? It's not as crisp. This is where the issue comes. The only thing that's fun with OPR is, hey, there's new things to test, new weapon, new balancing. But the OPR map is still the OPR map. So if we're really prioritizing region queuing, yes, you're going to get in faster, but that's just going to make it quicker for people to get bored of it and not have as much fun. Because it's still the same thing at the end of the day, right? We're playing the exact same thing. And so where are these changes? We need either a new OPR map. That'd be great. Give us some different objectives to do and give us a different map, even though it's still conceptually the same. It's different, okay? Or 2, we need a different game mode. Give us a capture the flag, right? Look at how successful something like Warsong Gulch has been for a while. It's been there since vanilla and is still today. Give us some kind of team deathmatch that's 20v20, 30v30, 10v10 even. I don't care, anything. Give us a 10v10 game mode. So cross-region queuing, although it's interesting and cool, is not really going to do anything in terms of making PvP better or refreshing PvP. None of that stuff that's being done is truly hitting the main issues, which I'll talk about later. So that's my concern currently with OPR.
Especially that corrupted portal change, because it makes it sort of like another event. Like you've got to balance that and your Baroness pressure.
Yeah.
I think that'll be neat. Another slight change on the scoring that I think is worth mentioning is we're also going to be starting to give points for blocking.
So PvE, Johnny, Bob the Builder sitting in the door, full tank, blocking, building the walls. That's perfectly fine. I do think it is nice that tank players can get some score now. So that's totally fine.
Right. Yeah. So the tanks of the group, I know sometimes you play sword and board, can now, as they're helping absorb damage for the rest of their team, get some points for that.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
A third big change is a brand new arena map. Can you tell us a little bit
This
about that?
is what I want.
Yeah, this is one I'm really
Let's
excited
go.
for. I think we learned a lot of great lessons with arena map number 1. And once we launched Brimstone Sands, I think everyone, all the players, all of us
about all this at the
we
end.
saw this aesthetic and we want that Roman Colosseum. And we're really delivering on that with the new arena. So it's a lot more complex than the first one. First one just has the 2 pillars to line of sight players against. This is a multi-level arena. So there's different sides of it. You can kite players around the middle. It's going to really change gameplay, and I'm really excited to see how different weapons perform on it.
I think in terms of mechanics, what's interesting also on how we're going to introduce this to players is that we'll be alternating between the 2 maps. So every 2 weeks we'll switch. We'll do this new Brimstone map for 2 weeks, then the original map.
It's almost like we've had 2 years to try and make another OPR map and could have done this. Kind of weird, right? Well, I'm just saying.
And just sort of alternate every 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that plays out too.
Yeah.
So here's what I want to say about 3v3. 3v3 has been out for a far less amount of time than OPR has again, and I think OPR is the preferred game mode for a couple reasons. Why do people not do 3v3 arenas? 1, because you random queue into it, and sometimes you just get the absolute cream of the crop paste eaters who don't know how to function. Not to be rude, but sometimes that's a thing, and it's very frustrating. But now I'm doing that, and what's my reward? Nothing. I get PvP XP. Well, let's say I'm maxed out on my PvP track. I mean, like, you're not getting good gear, even, and they're going to talk about this, with a PvP track boost, it's still not going to make arenas play. Like, people will play them. People might check out the new map, but I'm going to talk about some of the concerns with the new map. It's just not great. So if we look at what's the issue with 3v3s right now, I can run and I can get 2 gypsum a day from it. Great. Nice. But what else is my bonus? Nothing. So why do people do OPRs? Because I get at least 3 items per OPR that I do, and they can be bis and rerolled. Now, what I will say is in Season 2, they're going to give you daily crates I think it's 2 because I would assume it's 2 because you get gypsum and gypsum from them, right? That, in my opinion, you should be getting at least 1 crate per arena. If maybe if it's like you win, you get 2. If you lose, you get 1 piece. Like there's a chance. I don't know, but they need to make something where you will actually benefit, whether it's gear, whether it's shards, whether it's something, not just PvP track XP, to actually promote people doing it. That is the main concern. So you have nothing really promoting actual like grinding those arenas. The leaderboards don't give skins, and so we're like, what's the point? I think truthfully, if they want people to play arena, they need some kind of ranked ladder system or some kind of ranking, right? Not PvP track XP, some kind of box that's giving you rewards or something. Let it be something, gold shards. I don't know, but not that. And so now you have, when you look at it, okay, am I going to do OPR 3v3s? I can get gear, play with a ton more people, go into a 5 stack, actually be doing it and playing other roles. But then when we look at 3v3s, I get nothing. It's tough to play like ranged builds or tough to play certain builds in there. Or if you're queued against a healer because there's no role queuing, it's going to be a mess. And some people don't enjoy it, right? Now, I want to talk about the new map. There, obviously, since Brimstone Sands has come out, even though I took a 6-month break, the first thing I thought was I want a Roman Colosseum inspired 3v3 arena. That's the one thing I obviously wanted in New World, right? But giving me a multi-layered arena, okay, is going to be awful. Why do people play arena? They want to do 3v3, kind of close quarters combat. They don't care about strategy. They just want to be like 3v3 clump fight kind of practicing. If you have something where you can climb around and go up and down and you have a lot of stuff to use to kite around people, if you can climb up, this is going to be awful for any melee. I don't think it's going to be a fun setup for an arena. And then we get into the issue of you have now designed a 3v3 arena map that probably nobody is really going to play. And yes, there is some more strategic element to it. I think people will queue for it initially just to see it. They'll get their 2 boxes a day at least. So that might help, just in terms of general queuing across a patch. I don't like the emphasis of, I think what they're looking at here is they're looking at the data of how many people are queuing for OPR, or looking at the data of how many people are queuing for 3v3s, how long those queue times are. And so then their idea to promoting more 3v3 queuing is to create a new map when that is not the issue at hand. So let's just continue listening, and then again, I'll sum up everything.
This is the PvP reward track.
This is a good change
There's been
coming
a couple,
up here.
yeah. Directionally, the goal is to like get you better rewards earlier on in the track. So gypsum and shards and BIS items all come earlier in the track. And just in general, it's meant to allow you as PvP player to just do PvP to get those awesome rewards.
It's a lot more efficient. Like playing through this internally, I'm seeing a lot more oranges on the track, and
Yeah.
it's pretty exciting for me.
Yeah, I think I'm very excited about it. I think
So PvP track, I do like those changes. I do think it's definitely nice to be seeing more pieces that you can get in terms of like BIS and just general diversity, but just better rewards overall. Because I think if you are a PvP player, you do like to do PvP primarily. PvP track has needed a change. I'm not sure if they're going to reset the level. It's kind of sounding like they'll reset it. Hopefully, I don't know, gives you something else to grind for a while and maybe see some different things, get some new cosmetics, because we haven't had that reset since arenas came out with the PvP track. Just saying. So again, PvP emphasis is nice, but the title of this being PvP refresh, I don't know if necessarily the real refresh that we need.
PvP players will be awesome.
Let's keep
Absolutely.
listening.
So that's 4 big changes for season 2, but that's not the end of PvP, right? Like, obviously, it's just the beginning. There's also something pretty big coming in season 3. We've talked a little bit about it, but tell us a little more, Dan.
We've got Influence V2 coming out, which is going to basically it's big. We'll tell you all a lot more about it a little later on. But for now, the main thing is that influence races will be kind of like more directed, more scheduled. So much higher density in that influence race to earn the war deck in a territory, and we're adding control point towers to each territory to fight over. This is, I think, something that everybody's kind of been wanting for a while. We've talked about it on this before. And the goal for those is kind of similar to that new arena map, bring in some more like leveled play, some verticalities, some obstacles that can kind of challenge you to come up with a better strategy based on which tower you're fighting over. So it's really cool. We're playtesting it now, and it's a lot of fun.
Why do I need strategy to push bars so that I can deck wars? I don't think I should be, and I don't want that to sound like I don't like this feature, because Influence V2 is going to be huge for bar pushing, because right now, bar pushing in this current state is awful, right? Me running around, running the same loop circles for hours, or depends on how many people are doing it or how many people, like how many companies, whatever, and what have you. But right now, the current system of, okay, I'm going to run over to where the fort is, grab my 5 chests in the little thingy-mabobber. I'm going to run over and grab my little box and then put my box somewhere else. And then I'm going to stand somewhere for a minute and a half and then run back to town, turn them in, and keep rinsing and repeating, okay? That is not a good design. That should not lead to a war. I think having the open world PvP aspect that goes along with it sometimes can be super fun. But I really do like the idea of making this more event-based, promoting more open world PvP, but also giving us different opportunities to push that influence to actually get a war going. But again, we start to look at what are our issues in terms of being a PvP player. My only replayable content that's really available to me is OPR. 3v3 is just not it, not what I want to do. And OPR is the same stale, stagnant thing, regardless of whether or not we change influence pushing. I think it's a good change, but it's not what we need for PvP.
Yeah, I love the feel of it, like how I've described to you. It almost feels like an open world mode, right? Because there's this timed
And that's
energy,
great. This
there's
is great, and I do think it'll
concentrated
be
density of
more
people, you go here,
action
there's
when people are
objectives.
decking.
I think it's
So-
a really nice blend between the open world feel of the game and sort of like an instance mode like OPR.
Exactly.
Definitely the change I'm looking forward to the most, I'd say. Open world PvP is my favorite thing in our game.
Me
and
too.
The organic feel of it is so great, and these towers just really provide it. It's going to
Me too, but there isn't any ever. So
be fun.
Yeah, you've been pushing for this for a long
I
time.
have.
Awesome. Hey, well, thanks everyone for joining us today and sort
That's
of
it.
a dive into
this
PvP.
is all we get.